What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Our first topic of the show, guys, is going to be something that I've been wanting to talk about on the YouTube channel, and that is regarding AMC Theaters. Every once in a while on the YouTube channel, we'll talk about the movie industry, and guys, I plan on talking about the movie industry more and more as we go along, as well as the gaming industry and just entertainment as a whole. And in this segment, AMC Theaters, guys, one of places, a hobby of mine is going to the movies. I absolutely love going to the movie theaters because I used to be, involved in filmmaking, went to the New York Film Academy, and just absolutely have loved everything regarding the film industry, that including the theater industry as well. Well, there's been a lot of stuff happening regarding AMC Theaters due to, of course, the pandemic going on in our world and talks of them going bankrupt and how this could really send ripple effects throughout the entire film industry as a whole. I want to talk about what happened here and will AMC potentially make it through this and what we can do to help when everything opens back up in our country. So let's talk about it. So guys, in an article that was written by Lisa Fickenscher and Alexandra Stengrad of the New York Post, AMC Entertainment is inching closer to a possible bankruptcy. The nation's largest movie theater chain, whose cinema houses have been shuttered nationwide since mid-March because of the pandemic, is in talks to hire law firm Weil Gotshal and Manges to explore a potential Chapter 11 filing, the Post has learned. Weil Gotshal's team is headed up by star lawyer Ray Schrock, who lately has worked as bankruptcy counsel to California utility PG&E, the Fairway supermarket chain, and retail icon Sears Holdings, many of whose stores got taken over by billionaire Eddie Lampert. The insider cautioned that it's early stages and that other advisors for the possible restructuring. Nevertheless, a bankruptcy filing looks increasingly likely as the company has already begun to skip rent across its locations, according to the source. So, really quick here, guys, I think there's one thing that it's definitely what's good to mention here is that AMC is essentially what they have done up to this point as the biggest movie chain, theater chain, I should say, in the world. What they've been doing is they have, as a publicly traded company on the stock market, they've actually essentially have been buying out so many different theater chains and expanding and making their theater experience as great as possible. They bought Lowe's Theaters, they bought Carmike Cinemas, they keep buying a lot of those theater chains, and they had been over the years. Well, what this did was it increased their debt load, which was all a part of the plan. They increased debt. They had about $5 billion in debt at this point, and they were just about to start turning a profit. And right when those profits started coming, then of course the pandemic hits, and now they're in a lot of trouble. And so I'm going to say this, guys. AMC, if they can get through this, they are absolutely going to be on their way to continuing substantial growth and probably getting through, of course, the debts and such, which $5 billion is a lot of debt, guys, especially for the, movie theater industry, just because there's a lot of question marks whether the theater industry is going to be a major thing in the coming years, say 20 years from now. Is it all going to be streaming, or are movie theaters actually going to still be a relevant source for the distributors as well as, of course, movie studios? Now, unless AMC can extract severe concessions from its landlords, a Chapter 11 filing may be hard to avoid, insiders say. A recent letter from Senior VP Daniel Ellis informed landlords it would stop paying rent in April. AMC is willing to discuss with you any suggestions you may have for getting through this crisis and planning for when AMC can reopen and pay rent, Ellis wrote in the letter. So, it's not clear how many theaters AMC would seek to close in bankruptcy, although the 275 lower-priced Carmike locations it acquired in 2016 for $1.1 billion are said to be among the laggards, with many of AMC's movie theaters housed inside malls. Analysts wondered how AMC would be able to roar back to life once of course, the pandemic quarantines begin to lift. So we also heard, guys, that the company, or one of the major companies that actually owns a significant portion of shares in AMC, actually said that them actually filing bankruptcy is false, and it's just rumors at this point. So it's hard to say whether or not they're actually going through with bankruptcy. But what this could do, guys, is this could send ripple effects throughout the entire industry in a major way. That being that the movie theaters aren't going to be very relevant moving forward, and it's going to be all streaming services. Now, this is a whole nother discussion for another day, whether or not streaming services are going to be pretty much the bread and butter for every major studio out there, similar to Netflix. I think that having the movie theaters is obviously another source of income for these movie studios, so I don't see why they would get rid of having their movies go to theaters altogether unless their subscriber counts on their streaming services are absolutely astronomical. Now, if you go over to AMC stock price, as far as what they're trading on the, on the New York Stock Exchange at this point, guys, their stock price is trading at $2.41 with a, essentially, guys, I mean, they aren't even showing the PE ratio at this point. But if you go based on all the way back to 2013, guys, they were at $19.68 when, of course, their IPO went up on the stock market, and they were able to, guys, over the years, they've seen some highs in the 30s. They've even gotten close to the 40s. Now they've seen some low points. They were down to $13 in 2017, and you can kind of see this downward trajectory from their, just from their stock price. I mean, you saw some peaks, but for the most part, it was mainly valleys, guys, and it's just after the pandemic that hit, completely annihilated this stock in a major way. Now, is it all because of the pandemic, or is it because of other things? I think part of it has to do with the sheer amount of debt they have, guys. That's probably number one. Number two, in my opinion, is that the biggest question mark that is kind of raised, in my opinion, with all of this is, are the movie theaters going to be something that people go to down the road here? We already see what happened with the drive-in theaters. Is that same sort of mentality going to happen with actual just movie theaters in general? People aren't just going to want to go to them if they're paying for a subscription service like Netflix from home, or a couple of those, that being like Netflix and Disney Plus. It's hard to say. The movie theater industry, guys, is an experience, and that's what I think is the best part about theaters, and I think this is what you can do. When the pandemic does go away, and it will at one point or another go away and, subsides, going to the movie theaters, guys, is definitely something that you should do. If you love the movie theater industry and you love movie theaters, or going and watching your movies at the theater, especially like your big blockbusters or even the more intimate films, it's really important that we do that, guys, because if you want to see this industry continue to move forward, it's very important that we go to the movies. Now, the cost of going to the movies is pretty high, and I think what needs to happen is it needs to come back down to earth somewhat. I know they go with inflation, but all in all, guys, it's too expensive going to the movie theaters, and so I think that the theaters are going to need to evolve in a way in which it's a little bit more economical for people to go to the movies, as well as getting some of the popcorn and like some of the other amenities at these theaters. It's really important to make it a great experience. And I think AMC is just subject, because it's the biggest, that it's getting hit the hardest because of all the debts that they took out. But all the theater chains are getting hit, guys, at this point in time. What happened to AMC? I think it really started a while back when they were taking out a lot of debt, and there were a lot of question marks around the streaming services versus that of the movie theaters. And are we going to start seeing more and more go onto the streaming services, and then eventually everything gets moved to streaming services, 100%, and there won't ever be a need for theaters anymore? Those are real questions that are out there. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but if we don't want those things to happen, we want to see movies in the theaters, guys, we have got to be supporting the movie theater industry in one way or another, and going to the movies, and even if going on days that there's, a bargain matinee or something, it's really important that we do those things. AMC, guys, at this point, it's hard to say whether or not they're going to survive this. Obviously, like I said, the Wanda Group, they were the ones who stated that the bankruptcy talk were all rumors. So let's hope that's true, and let's hope AMC can get through this, and I think they're going to come out on the other side in a great major way if they're able to survive this and start really reaping some of those profits that they have been just, desperately trying to get to that point of, and really just expand. And I think now they're hoping to reap some of those benefits moving forward. But let me know what you guys think happened to AMC Theaters and some of the other theater, chains that are out there. What do you guys think happened other than, of course, the pandemic going on? Where do you stand with streaming versus that of the movie theater experience? Let me know what you guys think. And for more entertainment, content, and videos, stay here with Zero TV. A franchise that we haven't seen a continuation of for a number of years, guys, is Jak and Daxter. This was a franchise, guys, a very fun one, and I've always been hoping and have been hopeful that we would see a continuation of this franchise at some point or another, and it's felt like we haven't seen anything since the Jak and Daxter collection back in 2017. So let's talk about where is Jak and Daxter 4 at this point, which is what we're gonna call it that for just frame of reference for this particular video in particular. So guys, these games are considered story-based platformers that feature a mixture of action, racing, and puzzle solving. And I think that's something that people really liked about this franchise was, it had a mixture of action, some racing, some puzzle solving. The series is set in a fictional universe that incorporates science fantasy, steampunk, cyberpunk, and mystical elements together while centering on the characters as they try to uncover the secrets of their world and unravel the mysteries left behind by an ancient race of precursors. So if we look at the timeline for this franchise, guys, we had the Precursor Legacy come out in 2001. I mean, guys, this is a franchise that spans back to 2001. And we had games pretty much coming out, or expansions coming out basically every year between 2003 and 2006. You had Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X, Combat Racing, and then Daxter in 2006. A few years later, you had The Last Frontier, and then a few years after that, Jak and Daxter Collection on the PS3, and then, of course, Jak and Daxter Collection on the PS4 in 2017. So we've only had collections between 2012 and 2017, guys. Jak and Daxter Collection, which was all the way, back in 2012, and then you got another one. We got another continuation, but it was a collection again, but on PS4, and that was in 2017. So the question is, guys, where is this franchise at this point? Because if you really look at it, there's obviously something here. They were doing something right. They were coming out with games every year. Maybe it was oversaturation for a period of time. But the fact of the matter is, guys, is that this was a popular franchise for a period of time, and I think it deserves to coexist with other games kind of in the genre, even though it's kind of its own thing. I do believe that it deserves to coexist with other games right now, and I believe, personally, that having a Jak and Daxter title on the next-gen consoles could be really awesome, even if it was just on PlayStation, because it's a PlayStation exclusive, guys. So obviously, having it on the PlayStation 5 would be really, really cool. But that being said, guys, let's talk about kind of the reception here, okay? To kind of look at everything as a whole, you had Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy came out at a 90% on the PS2, very, very well received. Jak 2 came out at 87%. And these are based on Metacritic, guys. Jak 3 on 84, Jak X Combat Racing at 76, Daxter at 85, and then Jak and Daxter The Last Frontier 71 on PSP and 72 on PS2. So let's just put it like this. You kind of average it out, it's around 80 to 85% out of 100 on Metacritic. That's pretty good, guys. IGN gave praise to the huge worlds, memorable characters, action-packed stories, and great gameplay. GameSpot gave similar high praise, saying its tight execution and heavy action elements ensure that things never become dull, and that it manages to provide a rewarding gameplay experience that shouldn't be missed. So look, this is a franchise that I believe had a lot of potential to continue onwards, but as all good things, guys, there's always usually a couple of things that end up happening to a franchise to either put it on a hiatus or put it in a limbo state for a long period of time. Evan Wells, guys, revealed that they had explored the idea of making a new game extensively before the development began on The Last of Us. Creative director Neil Druckmann later unveiled several illustrations for the abandoned game at a conference for The Last of Us. He explained that they had planned on making a reboot of the series and had spent a long time exploring various concepts. In response to an alleged concept art leak in 2016, Naughty Dog's director of communication, Arne Meyer, stated that nothing was currently being worked on. Also, due to circumstances at Naughty Dog, Jak and Daxter has not yet been reconsidered, but is never off the table. So look, obviously the guys who have the rights to Jak and Daxter at this point is none other than Naughty Dog. And we know that the big franchises that Naughty Dog have been working on over the years, Uncharted and The Last of Us, which are incredible, right? However, what I will say is this, even though it looks unlikely that we'll see a Jak and Daxter game for the foreseeable future, I would like to see Naughty Dog maybe sell the IP to someone else, to let someone else take the helm of Jak and Daxter and really start putting some concepts together and see a really nice reboot or a soft reboot of this franchise on the next-gen consoles. I think there's definitely a developer out there that would treat this franchise with care, and I think a lot of people would be interested in something like this. I really do, like a continuation of this, and some people probably haven't even heard of Jak and Daxter, so this would lead a lot of people to trying this game out, trying this franchise out. I don't see why you wouldn't, especially because of the reception. It did well from a marketing and selling copies. As far as all of that is concerned, it did sell well. Most of them did. And the other thing is guys, it got really good reception overall. So the question now remains, obviously, will this game ever be made? I think that there's a possibility, but if it stays with Naughty Dog, guys, I don't see it, because I believe Naughty Dog, after The Last of Us, maybe they go back to Uncharted, or they just start a new IP altogether. It's hard to say, but Jak and Daxter, I think, guys, right at this point in time, is in a limbo state. And I think it definitely deserves to coexist with other games out there. And I hope it does at some point, but I think it would come down to Naughty Dog selling the rights to another developer. But let me know what you guys think. What would you guys want to see in another Jak and Daxter game? In the comment section below, would you guys want to see a continuation? Would you want to see Jak and Daxter 4? Let me know what you guys think. And for more Jak and Daxter 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. A game that I'm really excited about, guys, is Wasteland 3. This is a franchise that I really have no familiarity with. I haven't played any of the other Wasteland games, but when I started watching the official trailers for this game back in 2019, I was starting to get pretty excited and very intrigued by not only this game, but the franchise in general. So in this last segment of the show, I want to talk about everything that we know so far about Wasteland 3. So let's talk about it. In an article that was written by Samuel Hortsey of PC Gamer, given how long fans had to wait for a sequel to 1988 RPG Wasteland and how good that sequel was when it finally arrived, Wasteland 3 has a lot to live up to. Its 2016 crowdfunding campaign raised more than $3 million, and in 2018, developer In Exile was bought by Microsoft, giving the team even more firepower to make a deep, system-driven RPG. From the footage and screenshots we've seen, including a new trailer at E3 2019, it looks more ambitious and polished than Wasteland 2. An isometric squad-based RPG set in a post-apocalyptic ice-cold Colorado. Expect lots of dialogue, tactical turn-based combat, and a story that sees warring factions battle for control of the region. Its story is a direct sequel to 2014's Wasteland 2. So here's what I would recommend, guys. I'm planning on playing Wasteland 2 before Wasteland 3 because here's the thing, it's a direct sequel, so I definitely want to try the second one. I'd actually like to go back to the first game and play all of them, but this game is everything that certainly it seems very ambitious, kind of reminds me of like Metro Exodus kind of style. What I will say is that I absolutely hate the cold weather. It's something in real life, guys, I can't stand the cold weather. A post-apocalyptic ice-cold Colorado, that's going to put me in a very unnerving setting playing this game, and that's the kind of thing that I like to try out, and it definitely is something that I think looks really good graphically and even story-wise, guys. Now, as far as the release date is concerned, Wasteland 3 will be out on August 28, 2020. It's been delayed a few times, first expected sometime in 2019 and then in May of 2020. The original release window 2019 was a bit too ambitious for In Exile, which says that it's only able to hit a spring launch because it's been able to hire more staff thanks to support from new parent company Microsoft. So here's the thing, guys. It's scheduled for August 28th, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they had to push this back some more because of the pandemic. They kind of want to give it enough time to market the game, so on and so forth. Now, as far as Wasteland 3's backer beta, it began on March 17th, and then they have given us a lot of trailers as well, guys, which is really cool. I love the trailers that we saw at Gamescom, where we saw some stuff over at E3, of course. Saw a lot of content, and that is why I'm pretty excited about it. I was able to kind of take in some of that content and really see what this game is all about, and that kind of really gets me to want to play the other Wasteland games as well. Pre-orders are $33, so how much will this game cost? But the retail price will be higher. We don't know how much it will cost, but In Exile has previously said the estimated retail price is $50. So what I will say is this. Most likely, guys, this is going to become a Microsoft or Xbox exclusive somewhat. It's hard to say if it's definitely going to be exclusive to Xbox, but because Microsoft bought In Exile, it'll probably go out on the Xbox Game Pass. So if you're an Xbox Game Pass user, you'll be able to have a chance at playing this for just that subscription. Now that Microsoft has bought In Exile, will Wasteland 3 still release on Steam? Yes, according to the latest information In Exile has given, the game's Fig page says it will release on Steam, GOG, and possibly other distribution platforms. The Fig FAQ also says it will be available in Steam Early Access. Now, you might argue that's old information likely written before the Microsoft deal. However, in a December blog post, In Exile said it would be keeping all of our Wasteland 3 commitments. Pulling the Steam plans would be a major U-turn. So, I think that's cool, guys. I think that probably if there's future Wasteland games, it will probably be exclusive to Microsoft at this point because they bought In Exile. But I'm excited. I think this could be a really special game, honestly, especially with the backing of Microsoft. In Exile has what they need at their fingertips to be able to continue this franchise and make it even bigger and better, it sounds like. And that leads us to the premise. So following the events of Wasteland 2, the Desert Rangers were left without a proper base of operations. They received a call from the Patriarch of Colorado Springs, essentially the ruler of the region, asking them to help him stop his nation from falling apart. In return, he promised the Rangers all the resources they'd need to rebuild. As the story unfolds, you'll be building your reputation, siding with various factions, and exploring this strange land while saving or destroying locations through the decisions you make. Oh, and In Exile has teased that one of the Rangers from Wasteland 2 is returning, but isn't telling us who just yet. So this is going to be one of those games, guys, where it seems like you're going to make decisions once again. Even though I'm not one of those, a huge fan of like the decisions and stuff, something like this might be kind of interesting because it's a post-apocalyptic world, maybe kind of vibe vibes of like Fallout. Similar kind of vibes, I think, is what we might get with this. It's hard to say. We'll have to kind of wait as we get closer to the release. So what can we expect from the setting? Expect a large world with two major hubs. The first, the city of Colorado Springs, will be the largest location in Wasteland 3. The second is your ranger base, which will act as a quest hub. At the start of the game, the base will be empty, and you'll have to recruit new rangers from the local population. In Exile says you won't be micromanaging your base, but it will change over the time based on your actions and decisions. It will also be the backdrop for lots of quests, events, and ethical dilemmas. And I think this is really an interesting concept. Sounds kind of like where you'll be able to go ahead and actually recruit people like in the real world to like your quest hub. And I wonder how that's going to maybe tie into the story. And a lot of your decisions you're making as well is going to, of course, dictate what kind of happens in the story, I'm assuming. And so that's something that's really interesting. The quest hub is something very interesting for this game. Kind of reminds me of what Ubisoft is doing with Watch Dogs Legion. So how do multiplayer campaigns work? For the first time in the series, Wasteland 3 will introduce multiplayer, and you'll be able to play through the main campaign with a friend in two-player co-op. The campaign will continue even if only one player is online, so you can drop in and out anytime you want. But there will be a small number of set points in the story that will only trigger if both players are in-game. If one player abandons the playthrough, then it's not a big deal. You can convert the save to a single-player campaign if you like. As an example, in Exile describes a scenario in which one player makes a deal with a gang of smugglers, keeping their trade routes clear in return for a cut of the profits. It would be possible for one player's party to make the deal, not tell the other player, and thus that player would receive compensation in return. Meanwhile, the second player might independently choose to attack the smugglers for the good of the people of Colorado, not knowing of the prior deal, and that would lead to a similar consequence where the smugglers end up at Ranger HQ asking hard questions. Intriguing stuff. So, very interesting. I mean, this is a very interesting thing. What I'm going to say, all in all, guys, I'm super excited about this because Wasteland 3 is a full package. Not only, guys, we talk about this all the time on the YouTube channel. Not only is it going to be a campaign, a single-player experience, it's also going to be a co-op experience that you can have those, go through the story with your friends if you'd like, or part of the story with your friends if you'd like. And it's a multiplayer experience. So you're getting a full package deal, and there's a good chance that you're not even going to have to pay $60 for it. It's not going to be like a normal AAA title, even though it's kind of being put together like it's a AAA title. Absolutely awesome. As far as the reworked dialogue system is based on the one used in Torment Tides of Numenera. Essentially, dialogue sequences are branching with potential lines of inquiry, opening up or shutting down based on your responses. Some options will only appear if your characters have certain skills. So this is interesting, guys. I don't really know a lot about this because I just haven't really been able to play the other Wasteland games, so I don't have much of an opinion on as far as the dialogue being, revamped and such. And then as far as vehicles go, Wasteland 3 introduces vehicles for the first time in the series, and you'll be able to drive them about the world and use them to store supplies. Their mounted weapons, as you can see, will come in useful during combat. You'll be able to take cover behind vehicles too. And now, how will combat differ from Wasteland 2? It looks like it will be largely the same as in Wasteland 2, turn-based combat in which you spend action points during your turn, directing your squad to take cover or attack the enemy. The big addition for Wasteland 3 are team-focus abilities, which give your rangers tactical skills that affect your whole squad or weaken all your opponents. I mean, guys, this all sounds really good to me. It sounds like a really cool tactical-based game, and I'm excited for it. Like, seriously, when I read this and you start to kind of really start diving into like the different trailers that have come out, obviously, guys, we're gonna have to wait and see until the game comes out. But this gets me to want to play the other Wasteland games, and I'm sure it's probably getting a lot of you guys excited as well because it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a pretty special game in my opinion. Along with developing the third game in the series, In Exile is also remastering the original Wasteland, though it looks like it might be overhauling enough to call it an entire remake. It's coming out in early 2020. So, Guys, all in all, this is all really great. I'm very excited for this game. I'm very excited that it's a full package deal. I'm intrigued by it as well. Some of the different, kind of not only the combat mechanics, but also just some of the things that you can do within the world, some of the dialogue and the choices that you can make, recruiting people to your quest hub. All that stuff is really interesting to me and intriguing, and I think it could really turn out to be a pretty special game. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Wasteland 3. Are you a fan of this franchise? Have you played it quite a bit as far as just the franchise in general? Let us know what you guys think about it in the comment section below, and what would be the biggest things that you're looking forward to in Wasteland 3. And for more Wasteland 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.